Welcome back to Mountain Health Today. Guest today is Harry Weiss, CEO with Tahoe Forest Health System. Harry, before we left, we were talking about the cost of living index. Tahoe Forest is in a very expensive place for many reasons. Construction costs are higher.
Right.
Certainly, California regulation is higher. How do you view Tahoe Forest's costing structure compared to other places that you've been?
As I look across California and have worked across California, I was really shocked, to say it plainly, how modestly priced the inpatient care and outpatient care at Tahoe Forest is. And again, we're in a cost of living index that's around 1.57. State of California is about 1.36. Reno, for example, is about 1.10. And at Tahoe Forest, I found that our inpatient charge structure was about 40% below the statewide average of California, and we're more than about 60% below the statewide average in outpatient care, which is very unusual in a high cost of living area.
Earlier we were talking about how the hospital district was formed. It's a public agency.
Correct.
Approximately 8% of revenues, both with Measure C and property taxes,
Correct.
Come in. The rest is enterprise. You have to operate like a business.
Correct.
And in a challenging environment. But what are the root causes that drive the costs of healthcare?
That's a great question, Ted. Those really critical drivers that are really unique in healthcare, and healthcare is probably the only business in America that has this feature where we have to provide a service regardless of the ability to pay, and only probably the court system would have similar responsibilities. No other business out there does. And so the normal laws of supply and demand that people learn in economics actually work in an opposite way because of that duty of having to provide a service regardless of the ability to pay. So that's cause number one of the key drivers that really drive up healthcare, is the requirement to provide service regardless of ability to pay. Number two is that we still have over 32 million people that are uninsured in America. Fortunately, that number has come down across America a few million, but then we also have a very problematic portion too, which is 100 million approximately that are underinsured. And this would typically include the Medicare, the Medicaid, and many insurance insured individuals where the cost of care isn't being fully paid by their third-party payers. Those are the three driving causes that are pressing healthcare charges and costs upward.
Underinsured, for example, adds to bad debt.
Absolutely.
And but still there are some that just simply don't have the ability to pay, and that falls into the charity care category.
Correct.
And those can erode the financial stability of a healthcare institution.
Absolutely.
Over time. Tell me, if another business had to operate under the same conditions as healthcare does today in America, what would it look like, say, for the sale of a loaf of bread?
If tomorrow a grocery store had our business rules, the business rules of a hospital, a $2 loaf of bread would have to be roughly $8, 4 times what it is today, so that the grocery store who bills retrospectively after the fact over a 90-day period or a 6-month period would have a math chance of collecting on average $2 per loaf. It would have to have a charge of $8.
That'd be because some people couldn't afford the loaf of bread they purchased.
Correct.
Or were served, or could only partially pay.
Absolutely.
And with respect to the Affordable Care Act, there have been a lot of changes in Washington, and I know that we're going to learn a lot more in the future. But what do you forecast? What do you see out there as the impact on healthcare across America with what's going on in the discussion of healthcare today?
Well, as you shared, we are going to learn a lot more and be talking a lot more about the Affordable Care Act and its possible replacement. The thing that really concerns me going forward is that healthcare is going through a phenomenal change era, very rapid changes, And there's just a plethora of sources and literature and writings out there that are suggesting that as much as 1/3 of U.S. hospitals may not survive by 2020. And our focus at Tahoe Forest,
Excuse me for interrupting, but how many hospitals would that equate to?
it'd be roughly more than 1,600 hospitals in America out of 5,000. And our focus here at Tahoe Forest is sustainable, high-quality health care. So we do not want to be a part of a 1/3 of those hospitals that might not make it in the future. When you focus on rural hospitals in America, I think the latest literature is talking about that as much as 50% of the rural hospitals could be at risk just because of economic and regulatory changes that are going on. So again, we're focused on being a part of the sustainable rural health systems in America.
So we're also, excuse me, a little unique. We keep saying rural, but we're kind of rural plus.
Correct.
We do have major interstate that passes very close by that we serve. We have a lot of tourism and visitors and
Right.
second homeowners that we
Right.
serve as well. Other rural communities, it's fair to say, don't have that advantage that we
Right.
do. So that's a benefit to Tahoe Forest. As things move forward, we'll be picking up more information. I'd like to know if you'd be willing to come back and meet with us again here in another program when more is uncovered with the changes to the Affordable Care Act that might be coming down the road. Take me up on it?
Love to chat more about those rapid changes that are coming.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you for joining us today with Mountain Health Today, brought to you by the Tahoe Forest Health System. Thank you to our guest, Mr. Harry Weiss, the Chief Executive Officer of Tahoe Forest Health System. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I'm Ted Owens, your host, and we'll see you soon.